Hello everybody, it's vanburman here. Welcome back to another hardware video. Now today we're going to be looking at the HP Omen. It's a 15-inch laptop. I will get the model number in the description or somewhere. But effectively it's got an i5-8300H and a 1060 3GB. It did come with an NVMe SSD along with a 1TB hard drive, and originally came, to me at least, with 8GB of 2667 megahertz RAM. So I've upgraded it with a like-for-like stick, and it's now up to 16 megahertz. I've not made any changes to the processor, but in all of these tests there has been a slight overclock to the graphics chip, and I did 100 megahertz on the core clock and 150 megahertz on the memory clock. So I would say like a medium-ish overclock. Now the unit itself is really nice. It comes with a full keyboard. It also has a 144 Hz screen as well at 1080p and G-Sync compatible. G-Sync compatible before all the changes were made. So a true, I guess, G-Sync unit. And overall, it's actually really nice. There are some drawbacks to it. It can, for example, get quite loud, and this will lead me on to some stuff I might want to do further down the line with it, which I'll share with you at the end. And while I don't have anything yet to compare it to in my spreadsheets and what have you, we will be looking at this on its own merits for now, and as we do more stuff we'll go down further down the line. So yes, without further ado, we will get into and explain the benchmarks. So we're going to start off first by looking at the quote-unquote easy set of benchmarks, and as you can see, really good performance across the board. Probably with the exception of Shogun 2, the benchmark can be perhaps sometimes a little bit more intensive than you would probably think at first. But I imagine that, you know, playing that sort of game within the engine and within the sort of battle conditions, you wouldn't notice it that much, I shouldn't have thought. And, you know, if it is going to have any chance of being a decent gaming laptop, it's going to have to do well on this test. And as far as I'm concerned, there's some pretty good scores there. So I chose Doom to be our medium benchmark game. And I've got to say, Doom actually looks really good. I haven't hardly played any of it, so I've not had too much experience with it, but yeah, it seemed to do really well. I played it on OpenGL for this, and I think, you know, it's probably realistic that you would play OpenGL on NVIDIA cards and play Vulkan on AMD cards, which is probably the way I'll look at it going forward as well. Now, all the games tended to do really well, with the exception probably of Shadow of War. Maybe in hindsight, I wouldn't have done Shadow of War on Ultra. I would have done it on very high, which I think is probably more realistic for this laptop. And if it had, you know, it would have been definitely would have seen a performance increase there, and probably would have stayed above the 60 as well. Whereas, you know, it was just one of them, because I'd pretty much maxed out the other games. I thought we'll go for all three, see if it can hang, you know, running everything top settings over 60. So we got fairly close to that. But overall, yeah, very good score, very good performance. So going into the quote-unquote hard benchmarks, what better game to have footage of than The Witcher 3? So you can see the settings on screen there, all ultra with the exception of Hairworks being off, as shown in the graph, as you can see now. So yeah, Witcher 3 ran really well. 0.1% lows, 47.7. The average is 62.6 though, so not a massive disparity there between the two. The worst one was the Final Fantasy 15 benchmark. So I must admit, it did a lot better in the standard benchmark. Both were above 60, But once again, because we were aiming for, you know, highest settings that it could handle comfortably, there was a bit of a difference. And I would say if I was going to play Final Fantasy 15, you'd want to play it on the standard settings rather than high. Metro 2033, you know, that benchmark is tough, and I think people, you know, just assume because it's an older game that it's easy to run all of a sudden, but it's definitely not with everything turned up, not with you know, all the extra filtering and anti-aliasing all turned up to max. You know, it's a tough game to run, especially the benchmark, especially, you know, when you run, as I did, quite a lot of runs on it and got the average from that to give us the score. So I'm actually really impressed with it. You know, as you can probably tell, it is a machine that will play all of the latest games on playable frame rates. Yes, okay, there might be an exception where you have to drop the settings down a bit just to ensure it. I would drop the settings down to very high on The Witcher. I drop them down to very high on pretty much everything, to be fair, high to very high. You know, because it seemingly has the horsepower to do it. Now, here's another interesting bit, which is the Final Fantasy 15 snippet that I took off their website where it shows you how well it's performing. Now, as you can see, it's ahead of a 1060 normal 3 gig, which I presume is the desktop version. Now, yes, okay, I do have mine overclocked and what have you, but it is performing really well compared to, you know, other things in its relative category. So it'll be interesting to see how the Final Fantasy 15 benchmark turns up in terms of reviewing future stuff down the line. So yeah, very impressed with it on hard, and it did as well as could be expected, I think. So now looking at the 3D Mark scores, as you get, probably the same story as before. You know, does really well on the DX11 and not so well on the DX12. The Cinebench scores are actually lower than this laptop should be getting. Not sure why that is, because it seems to be performing quite well, to be honest. Next, we're going to look at my little labour of love, I guess, which is the overall scores. So lower here is better. Now, this computer garnered about, well, effectively 182 points. Obviously I don't know yet because I haven't done enough testing, but my theory is that anything below 200 is pretty darn good. It got 45 points because it scored a 55 on the gaming metric on user benchmark, and it is the difference between the 1% low and either the average or 60 FPS, whichever is lower. So I think you can, you know, probably deduce from this that it is a very capable gaming laptop, as, you know, the benchmarks themselves have shown. And I think we'll find that anything, you know, below the 190, 200 mark is going to be really good at running pretty much whatever game you would like. So just going to wrap up with my final thoughts now. So there you have it, pretty decent score overall. I'm actually really impressed with it. I bought this originally to go to America with this year. I got it last year for around 520-ish pounds. And actually it's done a really good job for what it is. I've not had a chance to actually take it with me yet. But I presume it will probably still go with me if I go next year. Anyway. So the 1060 seems to do really well, even slightly overclocked. I did say I'd mention a couple of the drawbacks with it, so we'll go through that. First of all, it gets really hot, so it's not uncommon for the CPU on this thing to reach 98 degrees and the GPU to reach around 89 degrees, even though a lot of the games are obviously more strenuous on the GPU. The other thing is obviously it's G-Sync compatible up to 144 Hz. So, you know, it doesn't need to get to 144 Hz, you can just rely on the G-Sync. So we could have a look at where averages fit in with the G-Sync range, and sort of judge it on that and how smoothly it runs rather than the previous tests I've done today. And the other one is with regards to the sound, if we run a silent or balanced profile, can we come to a situation where the sound levels are reasonable compared to the amount that, you know, the games that you're playing, because you would have to wear a headset to be able to play games on this comfortably. That's one of the things that I might want to look at, what scores it gets for either silent or balanced performance. And then, you know, the other side of it is that I didn't realise in modern laptops is that they don't utilise the full power of the GPU when they're not plugged in. So if this is not on power, it will not run anywhere near as well. So I'd like to also test this out in portable mode and see what scores we get for that. I know they're much lower, so it'd be good to see what games are actually possible in its portable mode. So that's something I think, at least that last one, I'd really like to look at. Let me know what you guys think about it. Let me know what you also think about the new testing methodology in terms of me giving it the scoring. Obviously it's quite early on, so we will see how it stacks up against other systems, other GPUs really. They'll be included in those results going forward. And yeah, that's about it. If I've made any major inaccuracies or anything of the sorts, do let me know. Can I recommend this for the money though? Yeah, I really can. Like I say, I think the thing about the power is pretty prevalent on most laptops now, with sort of at the time anyway, mid to higher end graphics chips in them. And yeah, you know, if you can pick it up for that sort of price, or even maybe a bit cheaper now, then yeah, I would recommend it. It's been perfectly fine, been very stable despite running really hot, and it actually plays everything surprisingly well. You know, I got away with using this as my main computer for a bit while I was moving house when I wanted to play the Outer Worlds. So I can't knock it. You know, once again though, you will have to wear a headset to put up with the fan noise. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video today. There's going to be some more of these coming up in the future. We'll be looking at the test bench rather soon as well, which I'm really excited to start properly tinkering with. I've been busy trying to get this video up about this. And yeah, we can start looking at some more stuff that I would say is a bit more traditional to previous videos I've made in the past. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'll see you all on the next one. Bye for now.